Do you believe that one random comment on social media can change your life forever? Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to Amina and Kwame. A tweet that started as a joke became a love story across borders. 2 years later, they finally had a chance to meet, but something went horribly wrong. But before we dive into this incredible journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. All right, let's rewind to the beginning. How did this love story even start? Amina had just gotten home from another long, exhausting day at work. She kicked off her heels at the door, sighing as she rolled her stiff shoulders. Nairobi had been unbearably hot that day, and the air conditioning in her office had done little to help. She had spent hours hunched over her laptop, editing reports and pretending to care about spreadsheets that made her eyes glaze over. Her tiny apartment was quiet, save for the distant honking of machetes and the occasional sound of laughter from her neighbors. She didn't mind the silence. Most days, it was a welcome break from the chaos of the outside world. But tonight, it felt a little too heavy. She moved into the kitchen and threw together a simple meal: ugali, sukuma wiki, and a fried egg. Comfort food. As she ate, she reached for her phone, her thumb instinctively opening Twitter. The timeline was its usual mess: celebrity drama, political arguments, and the daily debate about who had the worst dating experiences, men or women. Amina smirked. If there was one thing that never failed to get a reaction, it was gender war banter. A thought crossed her mind, and before she could overthink it, she typed it out. Men will have 7 pillows and no bed sheets. Sir, are you building a fort? She attached a meme for dramatic effect and hit tweet. Leaning back, she watched the notifications start rolling in. And then one reply stood out. Amina's phone vibrated with a flood of notifications. She had seen it happen before. A simple joke spiraling into a full-blown Twitter debate. She sipped her glass of water, watching as strangers jumped into the replies, either defending men's questionable sleeping habits or roasting them further. Then one reply caught her eye. And yet, we sleep peacefully while your gender needs a 5-star hotel setup just to rest. She smirked. The tweet came from a user named @KwameBuilds. His profile picture was a black and white shot of a man standing in front of a half-constructed building. His bio read: engineer, problem solver, lover of Jollof, defender of Ghana's honor. Amina raised an eyebrow. A Ghanaian. This could be fun. She quickly typed back: touche. But let's be honest, how many of you actually have matching bed sheets? Within seconds, Kwame responded: matching bed sheets are a scam. We pick whatever is available at the market. Function over fashion. The back and forth continued, with their replies stacking up so fast that other people began noticing. A few users chimed in with laughing emojis, while others took sides. She's cooking you, bro. One person tweeted at Kwame: nah, he's making too much sense. Amina, let us rest. Another defended him. She laughed. This was entertaining. But just as she was about to close the app and call it a night, a DM notification popped up. @KwameBuilds, I admit defeat. But I need to know, do Kenyan men really do better, or is this just Twitter slander? Amina stared at the message for a second before grinning. She typed back: well, you'll just have to find out, won't you? And just like that, the door was opened. At first, Amina didn't think much of it. People slid into her DMs all the time. Some were polite, some were weird, and some were outright reckless. She had perfected the art of ignoring messages. But Kwame's approach was different. He was funny, engaging, and didn't immediately try to impress her with forced charm. Instead, their conversation felt natural, like two old friends reconnecting after years apart. So, where are you from? Kwame asked. Nairobi. You? Accra. Ever been to Ghana? Not yet. But I hear you guys take your jollof very seriously. That's an understatement. Nigerian jollof is an insult to our ancestors. Amina laughed, stretching out on her couch. This was refreshing. A conversation without expectations, just easy, flowing banter. They talked about everything: music, food, childhood memories. Amina told him about growing up in a house full of books, her father's love for storytelling, and how she knew she wanted to be a writer by the time she was 10. Kwame, in turn, shared his experiences in engineering, how he had spent years working on construction projects across Ghana, and his dream of designing sustainable homes for African communities. So, you're basically building the future? She teased. And you're writing it. She paused for a moment, rereading his words. There was something different about this conversation. Something she wasn't ready to admit, just yet. So instead, she replied with a simple touche. The messages didn't stop after that night. What started as a one-time chat turned into a routine. Good morning texts, random memes during the day, late-night conversations that stretched until 3 a.m. They started learning each other's habits. Amina realized Kwame was an early riser, always awake by 5 a.m. for his morning run. Kwame, in turn, noticed Amina was most creative at night, often disappearing for hours when she was deep in writing. You're basically nocturnal, he texted one night. And you're basically a robot. Who wakes up at 5 a.m. by choice? Ghanaians built different. She rolled her eyes but smiled. Weeks passed, and their connection deepened. They sent each other voice notes, then started calling. The first time Kwame called her, she was nervous. What if his voice didn't match the image she had built in her head? But the moment she heard his rich, deep laugh through the phone, she relaxed. Finally hearing my voice, huh? He teased. You sound taller, she joked. I am tall. 6 feet 2 inches, in case you were wondering. Of course you'd casually drop that in. He laughed, and Amina felt something shift in her chest. Oh no, she was catching feelings. By the 3rd month, Amina and Kwame had fallen into an easy rhythm. Their conversations had moved beyond jokes and cultural debates. They talked about their fears, their goals, their dreams. Amina admitted she sometimes doubted herself as a writer, worried she'd never be good enough. Kwame confessed that despite his success, he felt pressure to provide for his extended family, and it weighed on him. They became each other's safe space. One night, as they video called, Kwame leaned back in his chair and asked, Amina, have you ever done long distance before? She hesitated. Not like this. Like what? Like something that actually matters. Kwame's expression softened. Then let's not treat it like a temporary thing. Her heart skipped a beat. What if we meet someday? She whispered. Not if, Kwame said, when. But neither of them knew how complicated that when would be. Amina had never been in a long-distance relationship before. Not like this. Sure, she had flirted with the idea in the past, but nothing ever lasted beyond a few weeks of inconsistent calls and unanswered texts. But with Kwame, everything felt different. They talked every day. She knew the way his voice deepened when he was tired, the little pause he took before laughing when something truly amused him, and the way he could make her feel understood, even from miles away. It was inevitable. One night, after another long call, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Is this real? She whispered to herself. She had spent months talking to a man she had never met in person, yet she felt closer to him than anyone she had dated in Nairobi. That realization both thrilled and terrified her. The next morning, she brought it up during their usual call. Kwame, do your friends know about me? She asked. Of course, he said casually. My best friend Kofi keeps asking when I'm flying to Kenya to pay bride price. Amina laughed, but her stomach twisted slightly. What about your family? There was a pause. Not yet. She bit her lip. Why not? Kwame sighed. It's not about you, Amina. My family is just traditional. They expect me to marry a Ghanaian woman. Even if they don't say it outright, I know they'll have concerns. Amina had expected this, but hearing it still stung. And what do you expect? She asked softly. Kwame didn't hesitate. I expect to be with you. His certainty made her chest tighten. Then we figure this out, she said. Together. But figuring it out wasn't going to be easy. Amina and Kwame spent the next few weeks discussing their options. Traveling across Africa wasn't as simple as hopping on a plane. Visa restrictions, costs, and work schedules made everything complicated. I'll come to Nairobi first, Kwame suggested one evening. Let me be the one to make the first move. Amina smiled. You sure you can handle Nairobi traffic? I've seen Accra traffic, love. Nothing scares me. They laughed, But deep down, they both knew this was a big step. Kwame applied for a Kenyan visa, but when the response came, it wasn't what they expected. Application denied. His stomach sank as he read the email. They think I don't have strong enough ties to Ghana, he told Amina over the phone. They think I might not return. Amina's heart ached. So what now? Kwame was quiet for a moment. Then, with determination, he said, "We try again." Kwame reapplied, gathering more documents, proving his employment, his family ties, and his reasons for returning to Ghana. Weeks passed. Then, another rejection. It felt like a punch to the gut. "Maybe this is the universe telling us something," Amina said one night, trying to mask her disappointment. "No," Kwame said firmly. "This is bureaucracy, not fate." His persistence gave her hope. But Amina couldn't shake the thought. What if they never got to meet? That's when she made a bold decision. "If you can't come to Nairobi, then I'll come to Accra." Kwame's breath hitched. "Are you serious?" "Completely." Amina knew this wouldn't be easy. Her sister was the first to react. "Wait, so you're flying to Ghana for a man you met online?" "It's not just online, Zainab. We've been talking for almost a year." "But you've never met." "Exactly. That's why I'm going." Her parents were even harder to convince. They worried about her safety, the cost, and what people would say. "What if he's not who he says he is?" her mother asked. "Then I'll find out," Amina said simply. In the end, her persistence won. She booked her ticket, her heart racing with anticipation. She was finally going to meet Kwame. The moment the plane touched down at Kotoka International Airport, Amina's hands felt clammy. She had imagined this moment 100 times, but now that it was real, nerves threatened to take over. Would the chemistry still be there? Would he be different in person? Would it be awkward? She stepped out of the terminal, scanning the crowd. Then she saw him. Kwame stood tall, his dark brown skin glowing under the airport lights. His eyes searched until they landed on her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, as if drawn by some invisible force, they walked toward each other. When Kwame finally pulled her into a hug, it felt like coming home. "You're real," he whispered against her hair. "So are you," she breathed. And just like that, the distance between them disappeared. Kwame spent the next few days showing Amina his world. They ate wache for breakfast, walked along Labadi Beach at sunset, and danced to live highlife music at a small bar tucked away in the city. She met his friends, who teased him mercilessly about finally meeting the Twitter girl. "So, Amina, how did you survive without Kwame's daily engineering lectures?" one of them joked. "I barely did," she teased back. But the moment of truth came when she met his mother. The woman's sharp eyes studied her carefully, assessing, measuring. "You came all this way for my son?" she asked. "Yes, Mama, because he's worth it." A slow smile spread across the older woman's face. "Then let's see if he's worth you too." Amina exhaled. She had just won the first battle. A week later, Kwame took her to a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. The lights of Accra twinkled below them, and the warm night air carried the scent of grilled meat and the faint sound of distant music. "Amina," Kwame began, his voice unusually serious. She turned to him, and her breath caught when she saw the small velvet box in his hands. "I don't know how we made it through time zones, visa struggles, and nosy Twitter strangers, but what I do know is that I don't want to go another day without knowing your mind forever." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Are you really doing this?" she whispered. "I am." He got down on one knee. "Will you marry me?" Amina laughed, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Kwame, I said yes the day I slid into your DMs." Coming up next, the wedding day twist. Just when everything seems perfect, a missing passport threatens to keep them apart on their wedding day. Will love find a way?